Hi everyone, it's the Psychic Sleuth, and I'm doing something kind of different today. I had someone contact me about a case, and it's back from the 1930s, and Midori's sitting with me today. So again, I'm working on getting a new camera to try to revamp my videos a little bit, but as of right now, I apologize. I have every light in my house on, the curtains pulled back, so trying to make it as bright as we possibly can for you. So just bear with me as I try to make the changes that you guys ask me to. I do try to talk as slow as I can, but I am me, and that's just how I am. So you can always find the backup on the Psychic Sleuth podcast page. Now, this reading is going to be on Aretmus Ogletree back in the 1930s. I did this reading with a client named Blair who was into the case from the 1930s. She heard it on a podcast and she wanted to see what I thought about it. I can get past, present, and future, and people that surround the case whose names can be first, middle, last, similar, nicknames or connections. These are my impressions. I knew nothing of the case prior. She didn't even give me a name. She just gave me a picture. Just had said that she wanted an old case looked at by me. I had no idea until I saw the picture and got the information. She says that everything that I got really makes sense from what she knows. At the end, I have a few validations of what she said during the reading that I could remember. I kind of went back through, but it was a conversation between us. So I asked her if he was beat up because I saw that he was being kicked and hit, and there was reference to 3 men. Showed me him on the ground, curled up, and he's being kicked while he's down. All wearing suits, and they look similar to back then, gangster-like. Men all had very, very handsome look for the most part back then. Tough gangsters with those gangster hats and suits. And there was a reference to business and money. So I also get a reference to 3 men, but I'm shown 3 men get in the car, and there was a driver waiting. But I don't know if the other just let 1 man finish him off, or there's just 3 there all together, or what. As lookouts. I think that this may have been prior, but I saw him being threatened up against a brick wall in an alleyway, and this was an altercation. I see someone's arm under his neck threatening him, like under his chin like this. So he was hiding out in the hotel room. He knew someone was after him. Feels very much gangster related, and he was in some bad business, with some bad people in business. Also, one of the guys I saw was more husky looking. So feels like there's a New York reference or connection. Someone from New York or connection that reminds me of Mob Ties there. Also, I think Blair validated that the guy that they were looking at did have New York connections. They were also sent to take care of him, and he was trying to hide. There was a name connection, Bonaducci, or something similar like that. There's a connection to gambling, and this feels like Italian mob. There's a reference to underground gambling areas. I see round tables with poker and mobsters all sitting around and playing poker, smoking cigarettes. Straight out of a movie is what it felt like. I got the word runner with him, so maybe he was some kind of runner. I see blood on the walls and stuff in the hotel room. I got a reference to a gun with a silencer, so I don't know if they just threatened him with it, or they carried them, or was symbolized like a hit. I get there was an argument before, and I get him begging for his life. I'll get you the money, I hear. I think maybe he stole from them when he was a runner. I swear I feel like I was in a mobster movie, like this whole reading. I got the name Valentino. There was a reference to his throat, so I feel like he was strangled or something to do with his throat. There was racketeering. I got that word. There was a dark car they all got into, one of those old mob cars. If you Google old mob cars or old gangster cars, that's what it looks like, because that's what I Googled, and I saw the car I was looking for. So I see a woman, her hair is done up. She's beautiful with red lipstick. It was like in one of those old school buns. So maybe also a connection to him. Maybe she was the wife of a mobster, because it felt like all connected, and he pissed them off, made someone mad. Still a reference to 3 men. 2 could be lookout and taken part in some of it, since I saw him beat by 3 altogether. But 1 may have finished him off or been the main person. hear the word goons, and I don't know if there's a mob boss named Big Papa or Papa. He said he'd played with fire. He knew they were after him and he was in hiding. The gangster car is black, of course. Again, if you Google old gangster car, that's what I see. Everything he is saying is pointing to affiliation to the mob. Also got top hats, smoking, and overcoats, and those big machine guns. Reminds me of, again, of an old gangster movie. Strip club and brothel connection to this mob. Stacks of cash. I get the feeling that it could be a money thing and possible girl thing. Again, he said he was playing with fire. Showing me poker. Get the word Gambodi. All Italian names coming up. Name Frank, Franklin, maybe short for Frank, or any kind of type of Frank name. I think back then they called him Frankie, but Frank. Head is hurting a bit, so I do feel he had some damage to his head. Valentina was, I think I already said that, and I didn't think I got it, so I went back up. So, Toro, and as I'm typing this, I hear his name, like the name Artie or Art or Artie, which I knew his name by now, but I'm wondering if they called him that for short. So that was kind of all I got, and the validation, some of the validation she gave me during the reading was, he was beat. He also had a fractured skull and bruising on his neck, so that validates what I got. There was an argument prior stated by people that heard what was going on. Kansas does have mob ties because this is where this happened, and the Black Hand, that includes, because I went back and I googled some stuff because I was just curious why I got Papa and Toro, and it turns out that Johnny Papa Toro, who has connection to Al Capone, anyways, they have connections to the Black Hand, and that does reach over to Kansas. So that's why I'm wondering if that's what the connection is. So like I said, Kansas has mob ties. The Black Hand, that includes Johnny Papa Toro, was involved. There was also a Frankie that I saw that name in there when I Googled, that was connected to Toro, so that was interesting. The ties are in Chicago, New York, and Kansas. And the mafia was mentioned for those things that I mentioned, especially in that area and that specific one. There was racketeering, gambling, brothels, strip club, that kind of stuff. Let's see. He was trying to hide his identity because he checked into a motel room under a fake name. He also had a fractured skull and a patch of hair missing in the area I got the pain in my head. There was blood on the walls, and I think that's all I can remember as far as her validation, but a lot of it validated, and she said that it all made sense from knowing the case. So you guys can look up the case if you want to. Those all were kind of like Italian names, so I seriously feel like it was mob related, or either the people, even if they took it upon themselves, are connected to the mob in some way, but I feel like he really ticked somebody off. And he was young, but still, sometimes they get into stuff young. So I thought this was really fun. Interesting. I've never done a reading from the 1930s. I've never done any kind of reading like this, so it was really cool that she asked me to do it, and I thought it would just be interesting to make a video out of it since I already did the work. So that's about it, and thank you for liking, subscribing, and if you need to get in touch with me, the Psychic Sleuth at gmail.com, General Heart Readings at hotmail.com. Please join the Psychic Sleuth podcast. Things are posted in there prior, and you can get the backup to look over it, because even if I were to talk as slow as I could, you would still miss things. So if you need to go back over readings, they are all posted in the files, because even I have to go back and go over things, because no one can remember everything after they hear it. So it's a good thing to refer back to. Make sure you answer the questions, and thank you all. I will see you next time.